No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C Morning Show, part of the Billy C Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live. Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live. Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live from the Billy C. I'm in a repeat myself mode today. We're coming to you live. You get the picture? We're live, damn it. We're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Morning Show. A lot of stuff going on today. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, Italian restaurant, located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. If you're looking for the best Italian food on the planet, look no further than my man Sal. What? You don't believe me? Visit the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, and you'll drool over the food. It even tastes better than what it looks like. Give my man Sal a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. You're traveling south. You're on I-95. It's 5 minutes out of your way. Trust me, it'll be the best 5 minutes out of your way you've ever done. Plus, if you're down in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia, definitely stop by. Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, 912-268-2328. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by GGG Boxing Magazine. There it is right there for you to see. Why do you want to see it? Because it's for free. It's finally a magazine that covers the sport of boxing, photos, articles, etc., 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 and it's for free. No, you don't have to take out a mortgage or a second or even a third one to buy this magazine like you do with other boxing magazines. You can get it for free. You can download it for free, or you can have it shipped to your door. Well, you got to pay the postage, but the magazine's for free. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover, which is on the right-hand side. And by the way, the new issue is just about to come out, so make sure you sign up and get it now. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. I'm talking you can get it right now by visiting BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, or visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section. And while you're in there, there's a lot of other good books to read as well. We got a busy show scheduled for you today and the rest of the week. We only have one day tentatively that we're off this week, and that happens to be Wednesday. But tomorrow, we're going to be doing the Blast from the Past. Alex is going to be joining us. Sugar Ray Leonard is going to be our Blast from the Past. We also got Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard scheduled to join us tomorrow. On Thursday, we got a young 13-0 with 12 knockout welterweight prospect scheduled to join us. Bryant Goodfella Perella will be chatting with us on Thursday morning. Friday morning, we'll give you the lowdown on what's going on. And, today, we're going to be talking about the fights. We got some scores to get you caught up in other sports, the fights that took place over the weekend. And one of my biggest topics that I've just been, my stomach's been turning, and I'm just sick over the whole thing, which I want to talk about right now before I get into some emails. But Canelo Alvarez, the self-proclaimed biggest name in the sport, has vacated his title in order to avoid Triple G. He's made some BS excuses, but joining me right now, my partner in crime, got to get his thoughts. The one, the only, Sal Rocky Cenicola. What's up, Sal?
Good morning, Bill. How are you today, buddy?
I'm pissed. I'm a little pissed.
I can hear that. And, I couldn't believe what I just heard with you're rolling that tongue.
I know.
That was great. You just got imported from Italy.
Well, I tell you what happens. Every time I see, these Spanish-speaking guys and, they do like a Hispanic name, it'll be like Ricardo Gonzalez. It's like, oh, my goodness. Isn't it just Ricardo? But anyway. Sal, we got some emails to read and stuff like that. But it was announced obviously before we did our last show, but Canelo Alvarez has vacated the WBC belt. Now, there's so many belts around. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to get into that with you later, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, there's so many belts. I actually, there's an article up on our website.
Website, I see it about too many belts.
Yeah, which got me going after I saw this. But here's the thing. He happens to have, he meaning Triple G, or actually now Triple G, but Canelo Alvarez happened to had the linear world middleweight title, which he obtained when he beat what's his name? I'm drawing a blank here. When he beat the puffed up. Come on, Sal, help me out.
I'm helping. I'm waiting. You threw me a blank. Hold on.
No,
the last guy he just fought.
Yeah, the Puerto Rican guy.
Wade,
I can't.
not Wade.
No,
No.
Well, that's who he fought last. But why can't I think of? Anyway, Miguel Cotto. Damn it! Oh God, age is a terrible thing, man, and a mind is a terrible thing. Don't let it go to waste. When he beat Miguel Cotto, he actually won the linear middleweight title, and since then, everybody has wanted to see him basically fight Triple G, and he made these excuses that he wants Triple G to fight at 155 and blah 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 blah. Well, he officially vacated the belt, and he said, and I quote, this is his statement: "After much consideration, I instructed my team at Golden Boy to continue negotiating a fight with Triple G." And to finalize it as quickly as possible. I also informed the WBC that I will vacate the title for the entirety of my career. I have taken the fights that no one wanted because I fear no man. Never has there been more true than today. I'll fight Triple G and I will beat Triple G, but I will not be forced into the ring by artificial deadlines. I am hopeful that by putting aside this ticking clock, the two teams can now negotiate this fight, and Triple G and I can get in the ring as soon as possible and give the fans what they want to see.
Wow, he wrote that?
I doubt it.
He read that.
And then Golden Boy himself, Oscar De La Hoya, adds, "There's no denying that Canelo is the biggest star in the sport of boxing. He's eager to get in the ring with Triple G and show the world that he's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the sport, but we won't negotiate under a deadline. Now that the WBC title's off the table, I'm hopeful that Triple G and his promotional team will come to the table in good faith and get this deal done." Sal, first of all, I'm not so sure that Canelo Alvarez is the biggest name in boxing today. I think that's a self-proclaimed title that they've bestowed on him. I don't know if that's the case. Don't get me wrong. I like Canelo Alvarez, but I don't know if that's the case. Second of all, to suggest that the reason that he's vacating the title is because the WBC has put a time limit of 120 days on when this fight has to materialize, which is not that, it's not like it's tomorrow. 120 days, is 4 months, right? I mean,
it's almost half a year.
It's exactly, so I think it's a joke that he's even doing this. To me, he clearly is avoiding Triple G, Sal, and going on to bigger and better things. I think in the long run, and first of all, I don't think fighters need titles, really. The way the titles are diluted and become valueless, I don't think a fighter technically needs a title. But I will tell you this. I think by Triple G, kind of being anointed by the WBC, their new title holder, and Canelo, vacating this title, I think it's going to be better for the legacy of Triple G than it will be for Canelo. What's your thoughts?
I share the same sentiments right there, and I'll tell you why. You and I discussed this. I do like and respect both fighters. I think they're good for the game of boxing today. I think they're active. I think to promote boxing in a positive fashion with their lifestyle in and out of the ring. So they're all A pluses for me. And I do enjoy seeing them fight and seeing them win. I think this is going to be Canelo's tough fight. I have said from the get-go, Triple G is going to destroy Canelo. I just think for a multitude of reasons. But I also think that Canelo does have the opportunity to step in the ring. If he does take this fight, it'll be the biggest fight of his career, and we'll see what happens afterwards. But for him to say that he's resigning this belt and he's doing this, he wants to expedite. If he's ready to fight Canelo, if he's ready to fight Triple G today, he surely could be ready in 4 months if he's truly ready. I think he's going to try to postpone that fight as long as he can. But I think Triple G will destroy Canelo Alvarez.
Well, after his last fight, he was in the ring saying that he doesn't F around, that Mexicans don't F around, that he's willing to fight Triple G right then and there.
I know.
Which is
pounding his chest a little bit and promoting himself. And hey, I give him that credit. And like I said, I like both fighters. I respect both fighters. But I will tell you this: I will make a prediction right now. Even though Canelo will have a puncher's chance, I think Triple G. Gaddy has a great chin, and I also think that he has a devastating power punch. And I just think he's multidimensional in the ring and a little bit more multifaceted than Canelo is. And he'll give Canelo something he hasn't seen before in his career.
You heard it right here from Sal Nostradamus Cenicola. He's making his prediction.
Hey, last week I was doctor.
Yeah, all right. Well, just leave the parlor out of this. But the bottom line is this: it's BS. That's the bottom line, Sal. It's BS.
You know what?
The reason, listen, it's BS with a capital B and an S because the truth of the matter is Canelo don't want any piece of Triple G. I mean, he doesn't want any piece of Triple G yet, and this is why I think that it's better for Triple G. Triple G is in negotiations right now with Danny Jacobs. Now, obviously, Al Heyman and his close to 300 fighters he's got under contract are starting to soften up their stance a little bit. They're fighting, whatever fights they can get, it seems. And Daniel Jacobs going up against Triple G is a good fight. Now, I think that Daniel Jacobs is a little bit overrated, but all the naysayers are about Triple G not fighting good enough opponents and all this crazy other crap that, only Floyd Mayweather fans can conjure up. Would be a good demonstration of how good Triple G is when he knocks Daniel Jacobs out. Like somebody wants to knock out a cold. I mean, that's the way it's going to be. And after he beats Daniel Jacobs, who else can they complain that he hasn't fought? It's going to be a joke. Triple G against Canelo Alvarez, as long as Canelo Alvarez is claiming that he's the biggest name in boxing right now, that's a fight that he has to step in the ring with, Sal. He can't get around it.
Absolutely. He's got to put his money where his mouth is. He's got to put his skill where his skill set is. And I'll tell you what, I just see it. It's going to be a great fight. It'll be great promotion. It'll be great for boxing. But in my opinion, as I said, Triple G at the 160-pound middleweight limit is one of the greatest fighters out there today at that 160 pounds. And I don't think he's going to be stopped for next year and a half to 2 years. He's got a nice 2-year window ahead of him as long as he stays healthy. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, you know what? Back in the day, fighters actually fought. Today they look to run. But listen, we got to take a break. But before I do, I got a couple of thoughts from my man Jesse in an email. He says, hey, Billy C., can you email me your list of all-time greatest boxers with the description and why and what their strengths and weaknesses were? Thanks. Jesse, every year we do a list where you guys email me yours and then I reveal mine. So rather than me putting together prematurely now, let's fast forward this to the end of this year when we all do it, and we'll do it together. He says, do you think Israel Vasquez and Rafael Marquez will be Hall of Famers? Where do you rank their rivalry fights head to head? They showed a boxing clinic against each other. Great fights, action-packed. Do I think they'll be in the Hall of Fame? Yes, I do. I think that their fights were classics, and I think that if you haven't seen them all, you should. They were all classics, and each one of them was interesting. He says, Billy, can you do a blast of the past for Salvador Sanchez? What's your thoughts on him? He had quickness, speed, movement, power, and toughness. I think we did one on Salvador at one time, but we'll certainly revisit doing another one. I think he's was a great fighter, and he was taken from us too soon, I believe. Sal, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break. I got some more thoughts from Jesse. We got some fight results to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to do, Sal, so don't go anywhere.
Absolutely. Let's get going.
Don't go nowhere. We'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Don't forget, today's show is being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. It's for free, so subscribe today. Visit our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover, which you'll see on the right-hand side. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia, the Golden Isles of Georgia, if you will. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man Sal a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. And speaking of Sal, he's with me right now. And Sal, we got an interesting second part of the email that Jesse sent. I want to remind everybody real quick, Dax Khan will be joining us in about 40 minutes to chat about some stuff. So stick around for that. Tomorrow, Blast from the Past. We're going to do Sugar Ray Leonard, a great fighter from the 80s and early 90s. But Jesse says, hey, Billy, what's your thoughts on Julio Cesar Chavez? Now, this is Papa Chavez, Sal.
Papa Chavez.
He says, what's your thoughts on what Julio Cesar Chavez said about the Canelo and Triple G fight? And this is a quote from Julio Cesar Chavez. He says, if the fighter wants to fight someone, the fight gets made. For example, when I was offered the Camacho fight, I took it. When they offered me the Haugen fight, I took it. And when they offered me Meldrick Taylor and the Whitaker fights, I took both of them. Don King sometimes didn't want the fights, but I told him that I wanted to fight them, and the fights got made. I don't think Canelo is afraid, and I also think that Canelo has more than a good chance to beat Triple G. Canelo keeps getting better. To me, Canelo is a natural middleweight. Canelo is much better boxer than Golovkin, but Triple G is a bigger puncher than Canelo. Honestly, I think Canelo has the skills to make a good fight, and he can beat Triple G. When they asked him about the former WBC middleweight champ, his son, Junior, he says, my son is the one who should give the news on who he's going to fight next. He says, it looks like he's going to fight Gabriel Rosado, but I would prefer that Julio gives you the correct answer. I'm very happy that he's back on the right path, and if he continues doing what's right, he'll be a world champ again. He says that a journalist, David Farrelson, had asked Chavez if he was the one who advised Junior to get back with Freddie Roach, and Papa Chavez said he did. He says, yeah, I was the one who talked with Julio Jr., and we agreed that he was at his best when he was with Freddie Roach, and that's when Freddie went back to him. As far as Jesse thinks, he agrees that he thinks that Canelo is the bigger puncher, But if he doesn't land that punch, he's going to get outboxed, especially if Triple G would give pressure. Canelo fights in spurts. Canelo must learn to box at high efficiency if he wants to beat Triple G. I don't think Canelo's the bigger puncher than Triple G. I don't even know if he's the better boxer than Triple G. I think Triple G is the complete package, Sal. What do you think?
Well, you just said it. Every time you just said those two statements that left your lips there, pal, a red flag went up. I don't think that Canelo is the better boxer, and I do not think that Canelo is the bigger puncher. I just don't see it. That's why I'm saying Triple G on an even playing field, Triple G will beat, and I mean beat, Canelo convincingly. Maybe carry him out of the ring.
You know, I was watching the fights. I'm going to get into the fights this weekend here in a minute. And some of the things that Triple G possesses that most fighters don't today. Ring generalship, you know, it's a term that's thrown around a lot. And you know, when I ask people what exactly is ring generalship, they don't really know, even big names in the sport. But the bottom line is ring generalship is, you know, how you control the ring. How do you control your opponent? You know, do you know how to cut off the ring? Are you forcing your opponent to do certain things that you want him to do? You know, do you want him to hunt for the head? Do you want him to go for the body? Do you want him to lunge? Do you want him to, you know, these are all things that you can set a fighter up to be forced to do. That's ring generalship. And that's something that Triple G does better than anybody in boxing today, including the retired Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was very proficient at, you know, getting fighters to run after him and chase him around the ring. But Triple G cuts the ring off. He gets fighters like changing their game plans in the middle of the fight. So with that said, that's something that Canelo Alvarez does not do as well. And I think Triple G would really dictate that fight. And, you know, until it happens, I'm looking forward to a Triple G Daniel Jacobs fight because I think that's going to be an entertaining one as well. Mm-hmm. What were you going to say?
No, I agree with you. And I think the ring generalship is something that fighters do not possess as much as they should today. And, you know, when Triple G walks in that ring, he owns that ring. Well, that's generalship, and that's making that his domain, his turf to pound on. And I don't see Alvarez being that proficient with his owning that ring as much as Triple G does.
I got some emails to read. My man Joel says, hey, Billy C., of the full big boxing weekend, what card or fight were you most interested in? What did you find to be the most boring? And then Joel says, I think the Russian card and the Parker Takam fight were the most entertaining, while Hay and the Showtime card were the most boring. I agree. First of all, I didn't watch the Hay and Shannon Briggs fight because it was all a big setup. I'll get to that a little bit later. The Parker Takam fight, that was a good fight, and it was, I thought, the most exciting, as well as the Russian card with Denis Ledebev. I thought he proved that he's the best cruiserweight. And I also agree with Joel that the Showtime card was extremely boring. I'll get to that in a little bit. But he says, what were your thoughts on the young prospect, Devin Haney, who's only 17, who opened up the CBS Sports Network card Saturday night? Mayweather is supposedly making him the future of boxing and is trained by Senior. I was impressed with Hernandez dominating the scorecards and defeating Magomed as well. Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you what I say all the time, Sal. You know, when you're moving these young fighters up and you're hand feeding them cupcake after cupcake after cupcake, and you finally put them in a real fight, a showcase fight on television or what have you, and they look terrible, it's not really the fighter's fault. They just never had a chance to get any better.
No, and again, it's the managers, the promoters carrying the fighter and letting him get that record, letting him get the minimal experience. Because when he does step up to that next level, he's over his head, and he is going to be dropped down like that cupcake and soaking up and sinking with milk.
You know, when you're having one in the parlor, when you're dipping your cupcake in the milk.
Well, you said cupcake.
Yeah.
Last time I had a Drake's cupcake, I was dunking it in milk. Next thing I knew, it broke in half and sank to the bottom.
See, this is the difference between Sal and Billy C. You know, Sal wears the white cowboy hat. He dunks his cupcakes in milk. Billy C wears the black cowboy hat. I'm drinking shots of scotch all day, and I can care less about the damn cupcake. I'll throw down a few pizzas, but hey. As far as Derek Haney, the 17-year-old kid, listen, this is my thoughts on him, Joel. I thought that the kid possesses a lot of skill, and I'm excited about him. I can't wait to see him fight again. But I noticed some stuff, and I don't know if you caught this, Sal, but I noticed some stuff on that fight that, listen, I know all the Floyd Mayweather fans are going to get pissed at what I'm going to say. But Floyd Mayweather really, because, and I'm going to sugarcoat it, because of Floyd Mayweather's ability, his natural God-given talent, his athleticism, and his, Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s, ability, plus the fact that he was surrounded by his father and his uncle, who were pretty damn good fighters in their day, and he learned really from the time he could, put on a pair of gloves, until he learned how to really cherry pick opponents and stuff. I mean, this is a guy that really is a one kind of a guy. You can't really copy him. Well, yesterday I started noticing some things with Haney that he was copying off of Floyd, like a lot of fighters do. Floyd never had any one punch out knockout power. Never had it. Yes, he had some knockouts early in his career, but he doesn't have one punch knockout, probably because he's got the weak, girly hands that he breaks, on a regular basis. But I noticed a punch that Haney threw, and it was in the middle of a combination, all right? It was in the middle of a combination. He threw a left, he came back with a right, he came back with another left, and then it was kind of not a full-fledged overhand right, but it was kind of a straight but rising right hand that landed flush, okay? And then instead of continuing with his combination or punch flurry, he paused for a second to look to see if he did damage to his opponent, which he did not do, and then he continued the assault. My point is that the part of the emulating Floyd Mayweather and learning how to fight from Floyd Sr. really teaches some bad habits that only Floyd Jr. could get away with. I think it's a mistake to try and create another Floyd Mayweather Jr. I think that the smartest thing to do would be to take this kid and create a superstar out of his own qualities and attributes. What's your quick thoughts on that, Sal?
Bill, you're right on again. Listen, hey, I'm not going to hold back. When I was coming up learning how to fight and everything else, biggest excitement that I could find and most devastating puncher, I loved Roberto Duran. I tried to emulate what I could from him. But then again, I also loved some of the boxers that could move. So my style evolved by my looking at what would work best for me from each fighter, standpoint, including Bobby Chacon, some of these early guys. I'm not going to go back to the parlor, but I'm going to tell you right now, when a fighter is evolving and developing his own style, yes, he may look to see some positive attributes from another fighter that he respects and admires. I mean, it was always rumored that Muhammad Ali looked to get some of his style after Jersey Joe Walcott, who was the first little boxer who could move around the ring the way he did and still land a punch. That's what I heard. That was a rumor. But like I said, I think a fighter has got to develop his own unique style with the God-given talents and attributes that he has been allowed to have. And when he looks at some things that he can make his own, that he respects from a fighter, and he uses it effectively, yeah, he's evolving. He's doing his own thing. But to think that he could become a Floyd Mayweather, I almost said Roger Mayweather. I was supposed to fight him one day, and become a Floyd Mayweather. That was that could be a big mistake because, as you said, Mayweather can get away with things. But if you like some of the things that Mayweather does, and you think you can make it your own, then go ahead, try it.
Exactly. A lot of fighters have taken certain things, tricks, tendencies from other fighters and used them, but modified them to fit their own skill set.
Bingo.
And that's the way to do it. I got one last email before we take a break. This one's from my man James. He said, here's a weird question for you guys. He says, I was watching CBS's broadcast and noticed something weird. I think it was Lorenzo Trejo. He was in the corner, and he pulled his waistband out and spit down in his trunks. is this an old boxer's trick to cool off? He says, in other news on your survey, I don't think you need to give a rip option. I don't need to on your. He's talking about the Floyd and Manny. Will they ever fight again? He says, I think I should add an option called they don't give a crap. He says he doesn't care whether they fight again. I have never. First of all, I didn't notice it. I watched it, but then again, I love to pre-record these fights and then watch them and fast forward a lot of the BS. Sal, hold that thought. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want you to tell us, did you ever hear such a thing, spitting down your trunks? I mean, to cool off?
I think I saw it on Popeye and Bluto when they boxed one time. I think they might have done that
Yeah,
in cartoon,
well-
black and white, back in the parlor.
Well,
in the
yeah,
50s.
back in the parlor when you had to crank the TV to get it started. Hold that thought, and when we come back, we're eagerly awaiting what Sal thinks about spitting down your trunks during a fight. We'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. And don't forget about getting a copy of my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. It's a true story, and it's not just for boxing fans. Get yourself a copy of Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of the book right now by visiting BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why we have a 5-star rating across the board. Get a copy of this book. My man Sal Rocky Cenicola is with me right now. Have you ever heard of a trainer spitting down the trunks?
Never heard of a trainer or a fighter spitting down the shorts of a boxer. Never in my life. And maybe accidentally mistaken it from a bucket. Not really. And but I don't see, and I know there cannot be any physiological reason or enhancement for what that would do to make a fighter revive and go out for the next round.
Well, I've seen them dump ice water.
Dump water,
down.
yeah, cool them off, but I never saw that.
How about if a fighter comes back to the corner and the trainer's going, "You disgusting little thing! You got no balls! You got no balls!" And he reaches over and he spits. You got no balls down there. Now go out there and fight. Maybe that's what he was saying. I don't know.
That might be.
I don't
Throw them with the water.
I don't know. But some fights this weekend.
Boy.
Let's go over some of these fights because
We had the Charlo brothers.
yeah, you know what? All right, let's go. Ursulane Lara, regarded as one of the top pound-for-pound fighters, also showed why no one gives two craps about watching him fight. He's a boring fighter, as skill-loaded as he is, because he is. The guy stands right in front of you, and you can't hit him. You know, he covers up. He's got a knack for, protecting his head and his body at the same time, and he's two inches away from you. And if you don't attack him, he doesn't attack you. And the fights are very boring. Nonetheless, he won a unanimous decision over Vanis Martirosyan this past weekend to improve to 22 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws with 13 knockouts. Martirosyan drops to 36-2 with a draw. The way the judges scored it, 115-112, and 2 had it 116-111. Now, the Charlo brothers were on the same card and made history. They became the first twin brothers to hold world titles at the same time in the same weight class, something that could have never have been done in the past. Well, mainly because there was only one world title for each weight class, so they couldn't have done that. But now that we have a plethora of world titles, and everyone could possibly hold one. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give Sal Rocky Cenicola a world title. It's going to be the Billy C Boxing world title, and he's going to have a world title. So, and maybe I'll give one to myself. Dax will probably get one, too. We'll all have them. We'll
have a team belt.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, Jermall Charlo improved to 24-0 with 18 knockouts when he won a 12-round unanimous decision over former champ Austin Trout, who drops to 30 wins and 3 losses. The way the judges scored that one, 115-113, and 2 had it, 116-112. Now, his twin brother, Jermell Charlo, just to keep everybody on their toes, it's Jermall and Jermell, twins, right? I mean, come on. He improved to 28-0.
Tattoos will tell them apart.
The hairdo used to, but Jermell improved to 28-0 with 13 knockouts when he scored an 8th-round knockout decision over John Jackson, who is the son of the Hawk, Julian Jackson, 51 seconds in the 8th round. Up until that stoppage, it was a pretty damn good fight. As a matter of fact, I kind of had Jackson ahead a little bit. He made a mistake and kind of turned his back, didn't know how to cover up. I don't know if it was a thumb in the eye or if he was just stunned and out on his feet. If you guys saw this fight, it was kind of strange, but nonetheless, Jermell picks up a title there. Over in Russia, Denis Ledebev, and this is real confusing for the WBA. I'll get to that in a minute. But Denis Ledebev.
Tell me about it. I couldn't believe it myself. I know where you're going with that.
Listen, Denis Ledebev, who's considered the super WBA World Cruiserweight Champion, beat Victor Emilio Ramirez via a second round stoppage to pick up the IBF World Cruiserweight title. Ledebev improves to 29-1 with 22 knockouts. Victor Emilio Ramirez drops to 22-3 with a draw. Now, just to follow the bouncing ball with the WBA belts. Now, I don't get it, all right, because we'll get to it a little bit later. Where let me wait, because Friday night was another player in this so-called Tournament of Champions for the WBA. So hold a thought on the WBA Cruiserweight Champion. Also on that card, in the Cruiserweight division, Dmitry Kutuzov improved to 19-1 with 19 knockouts when he stopped Julio Cesar dos Santos, who drops to 30-6 in the 4th round. And Dmitry Bivol improved to 7-0 with 6 knockouts when he took down the interim world champ in the light heavyweight division, Felix Valera, who drops 13-1, 119-107 twice, 116-101. In a very entertaining scrap, a clear 12-round decision was awarded to Joseph Parker. The heavyweight, he improves to 19-0 with 16 knockouts, beating the toughest opponent that he's faced to date, Carlos Takam, who drops to 33-3. 116-112 twice, 115-113 is the way the three judges scored that one. In a joke of a fight card, I have always said that David Haye is a complete joke. Not just a partial joke, not just a little joke, not just a joke sometimes, not even a funny joke. He's the complete joke, all right? I never thought much of David Haye, even when he was arguably the best cruiserweight around. This guy is a joke. And his opponent that he faced this past weekend, Arnold Jerbaja, which I can't pronounce it, who was undefeated, 29-0, never heard of the guy. David Haye improves to 28-2 with 26 knockouts when he took care of this guy in 35 seconds in the second round. Shannon Briggs, another joke of late. He was a legitimate fighter at one time. He improved to 60 wins, 6 losses, and a draw when he destroyed his third opponent in a week, Emilio Zarate, who drops to 20-17 in the first round, 2 minutes and 22 seconds of that fight. Now, this sets up a fight between Briggs and David Haye, which we should expect sometime in September. Here's the joke of the opponent, Sal, that Shannon Briggs fought. He went into this fight with this opponent. If you wanted to bet on Shannon Briggs, you had to lay almost $20,000 with a bookie to win 100. $20,000. I mean, basically, there was no way that Briggs was going to lose this fight. I mean, how can a fight even be considered a fight? Yeah, well, how can it even be?
I can't believe it was that much of a mismatch going in.
How can you even consider it a fight? That's the problem with the sport today. Anyway,
it's not even a sparring partner.
Also, to add in the cruiserweight WBA mix, Bebot Shumanov improved to 17-2 when he hit the canvas in the 5th round to come back and score a 10th round stoppage over Junior Wright, who drops to 15-2-1. BJ Flores, puffed up. He's now fighting as a heavyweight. He improved to 32-1 when he won a 6-round decision over Roberto Santos, who's 12-4. Way to go, BJ. BJ Flores is a great ringside analyst, but a terrible fighter. In a pretty big upset, Andrew Hurricane Hernandez improved to 12-4 with a draw when he scored a 10-round unanimous decision over previously unbeaten and top 10 ranked in all 4 in the major sanctioning bodies, Arif Magomedov, who loses for the first time in his career. He's 17-1. John Vera improved to 13-0 at 9 knockouts when he stopped Joey Rualis at 1 minute and 17 seconds of the 6th. Rualis drops to 10-2. And like we talked about early, 17-year-old phenom Devin Haney improves to 6-0 with 4 knockouts when he stopped Ariel Fernandez in the 4th round, 1 minute and 34 seconds. Fernandez loses for the first time in his career. He's now 4-1. Ray Beltran, he improved to 30-7 over a sacrificial lamb, Ivan Nahara. And Alex Saucedo improved to 22-0 when he too fought and beat a sacrificial lamb and Claude Lacerda, who drops to 17-15. Now, here's the where we get the final major fight from Friday in the cruiserweight division. Junior Dorticos improved to 21-0 with 20 knockouts when he scored a 10th round stoppage over Yuri Cambry Kalinga, who was a top 10 fighter in our rankings, who drops to 23-2. Now, this sets up the tournament. Now, here's the way we got it, Sal, and I need you to explain to me. Denis Ledebev, who is the super WBA world champion, which, in my opinion, is the number 1 world champion out of the 5 world champions they all got in this division, but he's the number 1 guy. He's the super world champion. He beat in a unification fight a pretty damn good fighter in Ramirez, right?
Which I heard he landed some devastating uppercuts that
He
were
did.
in the second round.
He's a killer when as long as you're not hitting him. He's scheduled to fight in his next fight Bebot Shumanov, who won. I just talked about his win. He happens to be the WBA regular world title holder. Now the winner, now all of these fighters that I'm talking about right now have fought this weekend. All right.
Yeah.
Ledebev and Shumanov both coming off of wins. They fight each other. Now one is the Super WBA champ, the Super WBA Cruiserweight champ, and the other one is the regular WBA World Cruiserweight champ in Shumanov. Those two guys are going to fight each other. And the winner of that fight fights this guy, who just won the interim title, and Junior Dorticos. He's the interim Cruiserweight champ.
From Cuba, yes. He stopped Yuri Kalinga.
How can two guys that are classified as the regular world champion and the super world champion fight each other to determine who fights the interim world champion? I've lost track, Sal. Explain it to me. Explain it.
I'll tell you what. I wish I could explain it to you. It's so diluted with these artificial belts, just to, I don't know what, just to do what, to promote, to make money, to do this. You got 3 champions you're talking about, and 3 opponents that they beat or are gonna beat to have the same belt. That should be the same belt. I mean, it's a nightmare. It's a damn nightmare. It's a shame. Yeah, it just waters down the integrity of the belt and the holy grail of the belt. I mean, this is supposed to be one belt, all right? One man to wear that belt proudly, but you got 3 or 4 different belts all claiming a piece of the one title. I don't get it.
I don't think the fans, if you read my article that I wrote, I don't think the fans are going to put up with it. Even the young fans that have been smokescreened and bamboozled by the promoters and the television networks who actually are watching the sport today, I just don't think that they're going to keep their interest. It's too predictable. You know, when you got fights that the odds are stacked so much in favor of one guy where you literally have to lay, 20 big ones to win $100. I mean, come on, man. Yeah. It's a joke. And every young person I talk to, and I say young, 40 years old and younger, they're all talking about MMA and stuff because it's more exciting. The better fights are made. The fighters evolve to fight each other, and it's a better. Don't get me wrong. I'm not jumping ship. I'm still a boxing fan.
I know.
But it's just so disheartening. You got these. So many fights were on this past weekend, and really, they were all predictable except for the Joseph Parker fight. That was a big test for him.
It's crazy. And, the tail end of my career, I remember they came out, and I'm like, wow, is that a new title? What was that? The Intercontinental. Wait a minute. You have a world title. You have a USBA, NABF, whatever. I can understand the national. But then you got a Intercontinental, a world. It's crazy. That was the first seeds being planted. And now, forget about it.
No, well, listen, they have youth. First of all, the NABA and NABF and NABO.
USBA.
Those are regional titles. Those
are like the United States of America Championship.
Well, they're
North American, USBA and NABF.
No, I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with state titles, okay? Yeah. But I do have a problem with youth titles, international title, intercontinental title, Asian Pacific title, Mediterranean title, Samoan title, Italian and Jewish titles. I mean, give me a break. But even with all those titles, to have a world title broken into 5. Listen, in every of the major sanctioning bodies, you potentially have a super world. This is one weight class. Let's take the middleweight. Let's take the middleweight.
Up by 15 belts.
Middleweight only, right? Potentially for every major weight class, you got a super champion, you got a regular champion, you got an interim champion, you got a champion of Muay Thai, and you have a champion of recess. You could have 5 guys walking around claiming that they're the world middleweight title holder for one sanctioning body. Multiply that by 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or 50 or however many sanctioning bodies you value, and there's more people walking around with titles than there are without titles. I don't know. Let's get people caught up in some other scores and happenings in the sports world. In Major League Baseball, the Tigers beat the Rays 9-4. Mariners over the Reds 5-4. The Mets, behind Noel Syndergaard, beat the Brewers 3-1. Syndergaard's now 5-2 with an ERA of 1.94. Go get him, Thor. The Nationals continue winning their win over the Marlins 8-2. Red Sox top the Indians 5-2. Phillies shut out the Braves 5-0. White Sox 3, Royals 2, Blue Jays 3, Twins 1, Rangers 9, Astros 2, the Diamondbacks 7, the Cardinals 2, Angels 10, Orioles 2. The Yankees win. Can you believe it? 5-4 over the A's.
The whole series.
They beat the A's 5-4. The Dodgers topped the Padres 9-5. The Giants shut out the Cubs 1-0. Now the Rockies and the Pirates, they started the game, but due to rain after the first, the game has been postponed. Over in the NBA playoffs, the Oklahoma Thunder topped the favorites topped the Warriors, who are the favorites, 133-105. The Thunder take a 2-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Russell Westbrook led the way for the Thunder. He had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 12 assists. No surprise, Steph Curry led the Warriors, 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Over in the NHL, they got some playoffs going on, and the Lightning beat the Penguins 4-3 in overtime. The Lightning lead. That's Eastern Conference Final Series 3-2. So some other sports going on that are pretty cut and dry compared to boxing. Hey, did you hear that Bob Arum and Al Heyman have settled their lawsuit outside of court? It was announced late Thursday that the $100 million federal lawsuit that Bob Arum and Top Rank put on Al Heyman has been settled out of court. Both parties have agreed they won't talk about it, but many people believe it was the first step in securing the rematch between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. What's your thoughts on the lawsuit being settled out of court? Is this help or hurt Al Heyman as he tries to move on with the PBC? They claim he still has about $500 million to play with from Waddle and Reed, who's in all kinds of trouble with their investors right now.
Wow. That's big.
What do you think it's gonna? Do you think it's gonna? Well,
It's
well,
big. Wow.
well. Do you think? That,
I read that too. That they settled out of court.
Do you think? Do you think that that's just a stepping stone for Mayweather Pacquiao 2, or do you think McGregor Mayweather is going to happen? A lot of people believe that Floyd might take McGregor only because it's an easier fight for him. Because assuming that it's not going to be an MMA match, it would have to be a boxing event, and McGregor. Certainly, he may be able to beat Mayweather in a MMA fight, but there's no way he's going to step into the ring for the first time as a pro boxer and beat Floyd Mayweather.
And that is funny you should say that because, if it was an MMA fight, McGregor would be having to pick up Floyd Mayweather because he'd be on the canvas. If it was a boxing match, which they're going to make, if it does happen, I would think that Mayweather has all the wherewithal to defeat McGregor handedly and probably stop him because his first time, this guy never really faced a boxer on Mayweather's level. So I think that will go towards Mayweather. Although, you never know. This guy could be so lucky with one of his roundhouses or just that would surprise Mayweather. He can get lucky, but other than that, nah. Mayweather should handily beat him.
Yeah, he's not surprised. He's not surprising Mayweather in anything. Mayweather fought Marcus McDonough twice, and he couldn't surprise Mayweather with anything. And I doubt McGregor will. Speaking of legal moves, Jermaine Taylor, former undisputed world middleweight champion, who's had some major legal problems. It was announced last week, Friday actually, that he was on trial for 3 felony charges, And, this goes back to when he was waving a gun at a parade. He shot his cousin. He's been doing some crazy stuff. Apparently, his admission and his sorrow, his apology in court to all the people, he said, and I quote, during the hearings, "I made a lot of mistakes. I just want to apologize to my state, to my kids and my cousin, and the rest of my family." He says, "I've made some mistakes, but I'm trying to make a comeback." The judge, Pulaski County Circuit Judge Leon Johnson, gave him a suspended 19-year sentence. This guy was ready to be in a slammer for double-digit years, Sal, and they gave him a suspended sentence, meaning that he can't get in any trouble. If he does get in any trouble, which means testing positive for any kind of drug, or if he fails to do 120 hours of community service, he will land in prison for about 10 years. So we'll see what happens now, but I guess for the next 19, he is going to have to be subjected to this. He also was granted permission to travel to the state of Florida to train, to make a comeback in the boxing ring, as long as he's under constant supervision. What's your thoughts about Jermaine Taylor getting these multiple chances here?
I'll tell you what, he's got someone looking over his shoulder, because that's a lot. You're given one chance, you're fortunate. You're given multi chances, you're going to be having to look gift horse in the mouth, and you better look at what you need to do to not trigger any of your chances to be negated.
I got to call you a little bit later today after we get off the air and stuff, but the big fight, and some of it has to do with this, really big fight coming up, probably the most competitive fight in a long time, coming at us from Brooklyn, New York, on June 25th. In the welterweight division, Keith one-time Thurman, who we're just hoping that he gets in the ring with Showtime Sean Porter one time, because he's already backed out of it once before. But these two guys are going to be meeting in a showdown, which is clearly a showdown for the welterweight division. You could argue that these are the two best welterweights in the world today, fighting each other. I for one, love this fight. It happens to be for a title. But the best part is it's going to be on network television. CBS is going to be broadcasting this fight. So I'm looking forward to it. Big time.
Great fight.
Now, they are still putting together the undercard, apparently, but Jarrett Hurd, who's 17
Get me on that undercard.
Yeah, I was working on that one. Jarrett Hurd, who's a junior middleweight, 17-0 with 11 knockouts, is going to be taking on another undefeated junior middleweight in Oscar Molina. He's 13-0. And in the light heavyweight division, David Benavides, 14-0, taking on Francie Natutu, who's 16-0 with 3 knockouts. Now I know this guy Natutu. He's from Canada, and he's fought some tough guys, but he doesn't have that knockout power. So it's going to be interesting to see a boxer versus a puncher, which it's clearly going to be. So you got those two fights. In a female fight, Heather Hardy, who I don't think much of. I think that she's a total fraud when it comes to boxing ability. She's a good-looking blonde, and they've bloistered her record accordingly, trying to make money outside the ring. She's yet to really fight a tough fight. I mean, she's been in some fights where you could make an argument against me, saying that they were tough fights, but if you carefully look at the opponents, she really isn't all that good. But nonetheless, she's 16-0 with 4 knockouts. She's going to be on that card, as well as Adam Kornacki, who's in the super bantamweight division. He's 13-0. So they're still looking for some punching bags for those people to fight on that undercard. But clearly, Sal, Porter Thurman is going to be a good one.
That's a great fight. I'll look forward to that as well. I'll start looking at their training and their conditioning and see how they're getting prepared for this fight, because that's going to come up before you know it, and I think that's going to be one of the big ones we look forward to seeing this year.
And the co-main event is going to be really good too. Jesus Cuellar is defending his WBA featherweight title against Abner Mares. Abner Mares is a really good fighter. I love him. So the main and co-main are going to be good, and then we get to see some young fighters. So not a bad card coming up in June.
No, not at all. I look forward to it, pal.
Chris Eubank is a middleweight fighter. Chris Eubank Jr., the son of course, Chris Eubank Sr. He's 22-1 with 17 knockouts. He's got the British middleweight title. It was announced that he will be fighting on June 25th, same day, as Porter Thurman against Tom Duran, who's undefeated with Chris Eubank's British middleweight title on the line. Ought to be an interesting fight, and I kind of like Chris Eubank Jr. I hope he gets some big wins, and maybe we see him in a bigger fight. Any final thoughts?
Well, I think that we need to really see what fighters are going to rise to the occasion this year that are going to be the ones going forward. I was thinking a little bit about some of the years where they used to really just highlight the top fighters in the big game of boxing, and you would see them up close and personal. I think that was ABC's Wide World of Sports way of showcasing a fighter. And I think if we can get some of these major networks to really look at some of these personalities, some of these guys that can help get the interest back into boxing, that's going to be what it takes. And I think that we have a couple of good crop of young fighters, and fighters that have some notoriety, and fighters that are gaining some of the respect of the fans, and maybe a resurgence in the interest of boxing that can all occur this year. And I think it's going to be very important to have that foundation going forward.
I hate to be a naysayer, but it ain't happening. Sal, it was great. It was great. I know you're trying to be the positive to my negative. But
the glass is half full of my parlor.
Yeah, well, that's good. I spilled it in
coffee,
my living room.
Mug.
But I'll tell you what, we'll be looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow. I got to take a break right now. When I come back, Dax Khan is scheduled to join us. So, Sal, I'll talk to you a little bit later, my man.
You got it, buddy. Thank you so much, and you guys take care and have a great day.
Sal, Rocky, Cenicola. He's gone, but I'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Lewis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Don't forget about my book, man. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now, where all good books are sold. Check it out. You can get a copy of it right now by visiting Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com. Or you can go to our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book club section. Get yourself a copy there. Or you can come on up to the International Boxing Hall of Fame in a couple of weeks and get a copy from me in person. I'll sign it for you right there, and we'll sell it at a discount price. Tom Molino from Bondage, the baddest man on the planet. Any way you slice it, get yourself a copy or two of this book, and do it sooner than later. Speaking of sooner, joining me right now, Dax Khan. What's up, Dax?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's been a while since I've been here. A lot of good stuff you and Sal were talking about. And I was just talking about that book the other day with somebody locally, and I was mentioning, just what it was about and the backstory on it. And, Bill, they just looked at me with a look of confusion in their eye. They've never heard of Tom Molyneux, and they never had any idea of any of these things that used to happen back in those days, including the slave fighting.
Well, what you should do is set up a book signing, and we'll come down and educate them.
I offered that, and I think they were almost embarrassed of the fact that they didn't know who that was. I'm like, hey.
Hey, book signings are good. I'll do them. I'll go. Set it up. What are we going to be talking about today? You talking about the fights this weekend, or are you talking about the fights scheduled for this week?
Talk about them real quick. And we had some stuff that I'd like to talk about. If we have time, we'll just make these fights real quick. First we're just going to speak about the welterweight bout between David Evanesian and Shane Mosley for Evanesian's WBA interim welterweight title. Then on the 29th, the cruiserweight bout between Olunga Junior Makabu and Tony Bellew. And after that, we'll just speak about real quickly the Raul Garcia and Donny Nietes WBO junior flyweight bout.
Okay. So which one you going to start with?
We're going to start off with the Donny Nietes and Raul Garcia fight, which is something very interesting on that, which I was really aggravated about this weekend, Bill, listening to Showtime and the never-ending talk about the Charlo brothers and making history. I think I counted about 75 times where they're just trying to trick these fans into thinking they did something special, when Raul Garcia and his brother Ramon actually made history by becoming the first twins to win titles on the same card back in 2011 when Ramon defeated Rommel Asceno for the WBO minimum weight title.
Yeah, but what they're trying, with their little asterisk, is that they both won world titles in the same weight class.
But they just totally, it's just how they go about it.
No, I know. Hey, listen, I agree. And the whole joke of it was, like I said to Sal, the reason why nobody did it sooner is because they only had one world title. It was impossible to win it in the same weight class. I mean, that's how ridiculous the sports become. They're making a show, and they're making a topic about the show because of the diluted world title holders that we have in our sport. It's a joke.
Absolutely. And then Mauro Ranallo, who actually blocked me on Twitter because I happened to make a comment that, his jokes weren't really too funny. He had came up with one good joke, and then after that he comes up with during the Charlo fight, he goes, if Trout had a phone, he'd call 911 right now. His head looks like it's been taped together like a ransom note because of the clashes. And I'm just like, are you kidding me here?
He is the worst.
He literally blocked me on social media and sent me a tweet and says, you're blocked now. I don't care what your opinion is.
He is the worst boxing commentator to ever put a microphone near his lips. How Showtime? I don't understand how Showtime even puts him. He's arguably sitting with the dynamic duo in Bernstein and Paulie Malignaggi, and he makes them worse. And it almost seems like they're told to let him get priority. They shut up when he starts with.
What's funny is Al Bernstein had said something about that, Bill. Al Bernstein, either right before that moment or right after, actually said, you've managed so far not to get on my nerves, but annoy me. He goes, but, you're going to annoy me soon. And Al, he's losing it, too, a little bit. I've noticed in his past few broadcasts, because at one point in time, he actually called John Jackson John Johnson.
Well, I just think that he's losing interest. I feel similar pain of Al Bernstein because the sport has just it's out of it. Listen,
me as well. Let's get to these fights. When we have time, we'll talk about those. I'm just really annoyed with the whole sport.
All right, so you're going to do Donny Nietes against who?
Donny Nietes And his bout is going to be against Raul Garcia, and that's for the WBO junior flyweight title.
Okay.
We already spoke about the history with Raul Garcia. Anyway, the pros on Don Nientes. He's an accurate counterpuncher. That's been his bread and butter, and it's allowed him to remain a top junior flyweight at an age, 34, when most fighters in that division are on the way out. When he does let his hands go, they're in bunches. He mixes his attack up equally to the body and the head, and most of all, he saves the very best from minimum weight to junior flyweight. The pros on Garcia, he throws in combinations, but sometimes his combinations can be up to 10 punches at a time. He makes it difficult for an opponent to breathe. He does his best work from a distance. He walks opponents down, uses his jab as a range finder, and once he finds his range, he takes control of the bout. The cons on the Nientes is, while he's accurate sometimes, he headhunts, looks for that one-punch showstopper. At 34 years old, in that division, not so good, not such a quality habit to have, because these younger, busier fighters, like somebody, Garcia, who happens to be the same age, can take advantage of. How Garcia beats Nientes: pump the jab, don't follow Nientes, throw those 6, 7, 8 punch combinations if and when Danny falls into the low to try and rack up points. My final prediction on this is Don Nientes, even at 34, he still performs like a fighter in his prime, and that's saying a lot considering he started out at a minimum weight and still at 108 pounds. So that's an interesting fight right there, and look for it to be all action. And the reason why I broke that down is because it's going to be aired here in the States. That's going to be on BEN TV on the tape delay.
Oh, that's cool. It's a tough fight for me to pick. I like Raul Garcia. And Donnie Nientes, sometimes you never know which one is going to show up. I mean, he sometimes he fights with reckless abandon, and sometimes he fights abandoned. I mean,
yeah, this is true.
I don't know.
Last time Donnie Nientes lost, George Bush was still in his first term, and the closest he's come to a loss since then was his 2013 draw with Moises Fuentes, and he erased that decision by stopping Fuentes a year later. So.
I agree, and that's the reason I'm going to pick Nientes. And I would have went with Garcia, but I tell you, I thought Garcia was a lot younger than he is, and being similar in age to Nientes, you still got to lean towards Donnie Nientes.
Yeah, it's only a year. I thought Garcia was a lot younger as well, and so I was actually putting this together.
Yeah, no, it was a little surprising to see that. That he's not that much younger. I thought he was still in his 20s, to be honest with you, not in his 30s. So I was a little shocked. So I'm with you on that one.
Not often guys in that division fight that long, because that's when your body just starts naturally losing those reflexes. And of course, the lower the division, the more they rely on speed, footwork, and volume punching.
So the next fight you're doing is Tony Bello against.
Tony Bello against Junior Makabu.
Yeah, that's another decent fight.
Tony Bello, former world title challenger. The pros on Tony is he's an all-around solid boxer. He doesn't do one thing overly special, but he does everything well. And Tony has been in with top-caliber competition. He's never had the luxury of an easier showcase fight. Tony is one of those guys who has always had to take whatever fights were in front of him, and a lot of times he's been put into the role as just another name. Bello is calm and composed, even when things aren't going his way. In the center of the ring, he matches up well with any active cruiserweight in boxing today. The pros on Makabu is power. 18 of his 19 wins have come by stoppage. A lot of big punches are either effective on the inside or outside. Rarely are they both, but Makabu is just as hard as a puncher on the inside or outside, and he applies relentless pressure, never allows his opponent time to breathe. Now, the cons on Makabu is his record is misleading. Sure, he's got 18 of his 19 wins by knockout, but his best wins are over Fabricio Manchuno and Glenn Johnson. Fabricio is one of those fighters who runs hot and cold, and Johnson is well past his years and weight when Makabu faced him. Outside of that, he has no opponents of note. He lunges with punches, leaves himself wide open, and he's always looking for the KO, so there's never any surprises. The cons on Bello, he lacks speed, he's not overly mobile. That's why Adonis Stevenson troubled him so much. He keeps his hands near his chest, leaves his head open, and he has trouble defending the right hand. It's the most frustrating habit of Tony Bello, in my opinion, as a fan, is he always goes to his ropes looking to draw opponents in and counter. Not his best trait. Al Makabu beats Bello, jump on Bello early, catch Tony before that fire is lit under him, and Bello finds his comfort zone. Most of all, be right-hand happy. That punch Bello can't avoid. How Bello beats Makabu. Use experience. Stay off the ropes. Avoid Makabu's power. Don't let him set the pace. Remain relaxed. Capitalize on the openings Makabu's going to give you. And then, you know what? I have a feeling Tony Bello's going to go home finally with that world title that he's been wanting so long. And I think he deserves.
Yeah, I'm with you. Makabu is a tough opponent, but I think Tony Bello. Tony Bello doesn't get a fair shake sometimes, Dax. People underrate him, people overrate him. I think he falls someplace in the middle. But the thing I do like about Tony Bello is that he's fought some pretty tough fights, and I think that he's a clear indication of how a fighter improves when maybe they get thrown a little too tough at times. I'm with you. I think Bello may even have his signature fight in this one. I'm picking Tony Bello.
That's exactly what I meant, Bill, about, he's never had that luxury of an easy bout. A lot of guys always get that one or two easy fight, to make them look well, kind of build up their star power. Tony never had that. And in the first Cleverly fight, a lot of people, including me, think Tony was a bit jobbed in that fight.
Yeah, well, this weekend, outside of the U.S., has to carry the quality fights because there's not many to really watch here in the States. I mean, we do have them on TV, but just not competitive. The last fight you're taking is Shane Mosley against David Anavasian, and how do you see this one going?
Well, I like David Avanasian. I don't know how many people have seen him fight. The last time Avanasian actually lost was in his second pro bout against Andrei Klimov, and that was Klimov's fourth pro bout, and that was back in 2009. In case anybody doesn't know, because Avanasian doesn't fight in the United States, and there's not a lot of footage of him here, he won this title by stopping Charlie Navarro in Monaco last November. The pros on David is the fact that, he is a strong puncher who has sneaky power. By sneaky power, I mean you never see where these punches are coming from. When he lands, most guys go down. His body work, like a lot of these Russian fighters, seems to be his bread and butter. I've never seen an opponent at least pause when they get hit to the body by Avanasian if they don't drop. He also has very fast hands, and he's exceptionally well off the ropes. The pros on Shane Mosley, we all know, or I should say we knew what Shane Mosley was, a fighter with speed, power, combination punches. He's faced the best and beaten the best of the era from 135 to 154. The cons on Avanasian is his competition level, other than Klimov, who I already mentioned, and Charlie Navarro. The biggest name on his resume is a faded Kaiser Mabuza. The cons on Mosley, the Mosley we once knew, no longer exists. In 2013, he was stopped by Anthony Mundine, and it wasn't even the best version of Anthony Mundine. After a 2-year break, he comes back in 2015, scores stoppage wins over Ricardo Mayorga. Patrick Lopez tells us nothing. Lopez, at best, was a journeyman. Mayorga shouldn't even be in the ring. Mosley can't pull the trigger anymore. At most, he gets off 2 punches. How Avanasian beats Mosley? Do what you do. Get inside. Attack the body. 1 or 2 of those body punches by the 3rd or 4th round. Mosley's going to be way out of his element. The age is going to show up. Mosley, unless he turns back time, he's going to need a stick to beat Avanasian while he sleeps. That's his only chance in this. Final prediction, David Avanasian, even for an interim title at a time when titles mean nothing. I can't rationalize, Bill, how Mosley was wedged in there for this. This is a classic example of a once great fighter who's stuck around a little bit too often.
I'm old school, Dax. You know that more than anyone. I'm a dying breed, and hopefully I won't check out too soon. But I'm a dying breed. I'm loyal. I stick with my guys. And as much as you bring up some great points about Avanasian, I got to go with Sugar Shane. I'm a Sugar Shane fan. I always have been. Yes, he's way beyond his prime. He should be focusing on training, especially his son, who needs some good training. I agree with everything you said about Shane Mosley. His best days are far behind him. He does have a problem pulling the trigger. He shouldn't be hanging on too long, as long as he has. But I'm not gonna bail on Shane. I'm picking Shane Mosley in an upset. I think he's going to do enough to win this fight, and the reason I'm basing it not only because Sugar Shane was one of my favorite fighters, but what you said about David Avavizian not fighting anyone of note. I think that the experience level of Mosley hopefully will even out his fading skill set. So I'm picking Shane Mosley in this one.
Avid is just too busy of a fighter. I don't know how much. Again, there's not a lot of footage on him here in the States. I've seen most of his fights by stream, but he's just such a busy fighter, and the way he counterpunches and digs that body so well is the type of style that's tailor-made for an aging fighter. So, like you, I'd like to see Shane Mosley turn back the time and get a big win, but I just don't see it happening. So we're on the opposite ends there.
Yeah, well, hey, it happens sometimes. So. Great job as usual. A couple of questions about the fights this past weekend. I'm not impressed with the Charlo brothers, and to be honest with you, I thought that Jackson was winning that fight or close to it at the time of the stoppage. I thought that was weird. Just what's been going on in the sport, Dax. It's very hard for me to stay interested. These fighters that we are getting to see a lot of fights on TV, which I like. The problem is none of them are competitive. Even the competitive ones aren't competitive. It's sad to see, and I don't see it ever getting back. When we opened up the show today with the thought about Canelo Alvarez vacating the title and trying to smokescreen the fans into saying that the title was actually the proponent that was delaying the fight to be made is utter BS. These fighters of today are just, you can't put it any other way other than they are avoiding the tough fights. They are so afraid of losing, and not just the fighter, but their management and their promotional team and the networks they're signed with. They're so afraid of losing that we, the boxing fan, is getting these mismatches shoved down our throats. It's not going to stop anytime soon. This is what it is. It's become the sport of boxing.
It certainly has. And, first, I got two replies for you. First, on the Jermell Charlo and John Jackson fight, John Jackson was absolutely winning that fight. He made that tactical mistake when he was hurt, and he kind of turned to check his eye. Other than that, I think, he would have continued doing what he was doing. And, Charlo did what he was supposed to. He took advantage of that moment. But, Charlo, what bothered me even before that fight is he said, I'll beat John Jackson. I'd have beat his father if we ever faced off. And I'm looking at that fight, and I've seen those first couple combinations John Jackson landed in the first round, and I'm saying to myself, if Julian Jackson would have landed one of those combinations on this kid, we wouldn't see him again for another 5 years.
And then you take their Slendy Lara fight. And as much as I really admire his boxing skill and stuff, you can really see why nobody wants to watch the guy fight. I mean, as good as he is, you can't sugarcoat that either. He's a boring fighter, Dax.
He runs. A lot of people don't like the style of Rigondeaux. They complain because it's not enough action. But at least with Rigondeaux, you see the skills that goes into the way he avoids the punches and the movement and the way he pivots and on and on. He's much like a less exciting version of Pernell Whitaker. As far as Erislandy Lara, he runs. Basically, that's what he does. He runs, and at times he can be a dirty fighter. So there was nothing about that excited me whatsoever. And a lot of people were just begging for it to stop. And Erislandy Lara, the last time I ever found him to be exciting somewhat anyway is the Paul Williams fight when he got cheated on the cards.
Yeah, well, that he hasn't been exciting since then.
Exactly.
A couple of big fights. I thought Joseph Parker really solidifies his spot in the heavyweight division. A big win for him over Carlos Takam. If you want to give Takam credit for being as ranked as highly as he was, but I think Joseph Parker is clearly a guy that's in the mix. I like the fact that we have a lot of young heavyweights, and they do seem, including Deontay Wilder, who I was very, skeptical of. all these young heavyweights do seem like they're willing to fight each other.
This was a great fight for Joseph Parker, the fact that he went the distance, because there was a lot of questions on how would Joseph Parker react if he went into deeper waters. Was he going to gas? That's something we see in a lot of young heavyweights or fighters of any weight class when they're so used to getting these early knockouts. And Carlos Takam is a very experienced fighter, so this was great, and it did absolutely 100%. I agree. It solidified Joseph Parker as a genuine, top 10 heavyweight. As far as the rest of the heavyweights, I think they are all willing to fight each other outside of the David Haye and Shannon Briggs sideshow, which, somehow I hope that no promoter, unless they come out of their own pockets, puts those cards on, because it really is, it's an embarrassment, it's a sham, and this isn't even two great fighters hanging on for too long. Remember, the last time Shannon Briggs had a significant fight, I believe it was in 2006 or 2007, when he won his world title, and he lost it in his very next fight. And then the last time he fought an opponent of worth, he spent 2 weeks in a German hospital. So, Shannon Briggs, he's embarrassing just in general. He's annoying, and this whole "what's up, champ" thing, it's old. It's not even amusing anymore.
Listen, you will see David Haye against Shannon Briggs, and the winner of that fight will get a title shot. It will probably be against Anthony Joshua. I think that it's a joke, and the only promoter that's going to promote that fight is David Haye himself. I think it's a joke that they even went through the motions of fighting these two fights that they each had over this past weekend. Shannon Briggs, they line him up with a legitimate opponent at first when they put him on the card, and then he gets a joke of an opponent, then a third joke of an opponent, where he goes into the fight. I think you had to lay $20,000 in US, $20,000 to win 100. That's how much of a one-sided fight it is, and yet both of these guys are still pounding on their chests, saying that they're the best heavyweights on the planet, and you got people buying into it. And if people don't really believe it, Dax, and they're buying tickets because they like the show, well, Coach has been saying this for 2 years. Boxing has become WWE. It's here, and it's sad.
It absolutely has. The one thing I can say that's positive about the sport as of late, we were speaking earlier talking about boxing on free TV. What I really like is the fact that the Bella Entertainment has brought in some local fights to free TV. As we always say, club shows or local shows have always been, the backbone of the sport. And when the Bella started this weekend on WPIX TV with his Broadway boxing series, and that is a channel that can be received with just an antenna. You don't need cable whatsoever, so I'm excited about that. I'm also, what I like is there's another small promotion company out there, Blueprint. They're signing a lot of ladies, and they're trying to really, bring ladies boxing into the United States, where it's bigger overseas, but a lot of these ladies here, Bill, they work so hard, and they don't even get the recognition they deserve. So, I really like that. And the two things that really stress me out about the sport is the fact that after the Canelo Alvarez and the Amir Khan fight and the little incident with Triple G and Canelo talking about we Mexicans don't F around, etc., there was this little outlet, I won't call them a media outlet, even though they kind of address themselves as that. They went out and they took a couple videos from face-offs, one from the David Lemieux and Gennady Golovkin face-off, and the other one from the Canelo and Amir Khan. And they dubbed over Max Kellerman's voice, and they were taking different parts from those and made it appear as though they were going to fight each other and the fight was signed. Within just a couple hours, this was all over social media. It was trending. And I just could not believe that these people didn't realize, first of all, HBO didn't put together a face-off within just a matter of a few hours, and I took some screenshots and I actually posted them up on our Facebook page and my personal Facebook page, and I said, look, if you understand, this is David Lemieux's face, this is Amir Khan's face right here, and a lot of people just all of a sudden they felt embarrassed. But you're supposed to be diehard boxing fans, yet meanwhile you're falling for something like this. That tells you exactly how easily today's fans are fooled and exactly how unintelligent they are. They're nothing like they used to be. And there was just somebody yesterday on social media who sends out a poster with William Monroe Jr. Fighting Johnson. So I said, well, who is Johnson? Well, Johnson won the Boxino last year. William Monroe Jr. won the Boxino the year before, and they're fighting in June. So, well, last time I checked, John Thompson won the Boxino, and this person argued with me. And I literally had to show him the poster, the Boxino winner stuff from the Banner website. And, this is another person decided they were going to block me. And what did they do, Bill? They created this poster on their own, and they didn't even realize they made an error putting up the name, and they were embarrassed. But, they called themselves a media outlet, and these fans fall for it. And that's a big problem with this sport. We spoke about it off the air, we spoke about it on the air. Anybody who has access to a computer, anybody who's able to use, some sort of editing program and create something, and they're able to look at BoxRec, suddenly they're the media, and the fans they follow it. They don't even know who's legitimate, who isn't, and the ones, they get something in their head, you can't change their opinions, and that's another big problem with the sport. And the reason why I've taken such a hiatus from writing articles, because you can't tell these guys anything. Maybe like Billy C, I'm getting old to the point of I'm just aggravated. I'm old school, and I'm not going to sit here and argue with these guys on stuff I know.
Nah, it's tough. It's tough. But, Dax, great points. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to you next week, my man.
All right, absolutely. And give me a call during the week. Something else I wanted to tell you.
Sounds good, man. We'll chat later.
All right.
That's Dax Khan. Check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. Now, don't forget, tomorrow we're going to be doing a blast from the past. Sugar Ray Leonard is going to be our blastee tomorrow. Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard will be joining us, and we'll get you up to date on all of the latest boxing news, and we'll divulge into some other sports as well. But until then, I'll leave you with this. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.